thanking you for the privilege to discuss this topic. I think in a theme no gratitude and health. Within this theme no na your bedroom bibi kakra bi ho if I promoting the main kind of foundation no also kind of within the Bible. Na title ene yɛbɛkasa fa ho no sɛ yɛhwehwɛ gratitude ɛwɔ Onyankopɔn hyehyɛ for yɛapɔmuden ɛwɔ abrabɔ a yɛledi in this day and age. Nti sɛ yɛhwehwɛ saa gratitude no anaasɛ yɛma yɛni asɔ deɛ Nyankopɔn wayɛ ama yɛn wɔ ne hyehyɛeɛ a ɔwɔma yɛn for yɛapɔmuden no yɛbɛhwɛ a few stories. And see, I think the foundation of your health, of your promoting, and I say your health, based in the Bible. So we hear a few stories from the Bible. You share some lessons from those stories. This is the boy I'm who didn't was saying, yes, you may use so what the Yakupon I am. You better talk very briefly about some of the risk factors for cardiovascular disease. Now, in terms of gratitude, again, and being one of the main theme of this evening, the very gratitude. I see my so the Yakopon my because a gratitude cry, the gratitude now, it's sure. Now, you best start by looking at time on Yakopon bo area say or bo Adam any Eve. Because apomudin into a very interesting because Bible no am I just a few kind of duration in terms of if you do one you can be in your dream asana obu any type of creating a Bible na pomudin. But what sign these different individuals are very interesting to see kind of the variation and I say nyoma asasa between that time no and at this time. Okay, better say you ever during the time of Adam. Before saying Noah is year no. Again, your sample size and I say you pay one in the Caribbean Sea, you can create when it was an example. Here, Adam, Bible Nakash would be 930 years. Seth would be 912 years. Seth Nana Jared, AD 962 years. And now, Jared Asifo, Methuselah, your age, Noah, the 950, and Lamech, AD 777 years. Asana Ooh. If you find the we are Bible before say no one's AC average lifespan may about 945 years. And I think no one's AC right before say AC until the time of Abraham. You heard Noah about Shem would be 600 years. And then Nana Salah 433 years. And then Asifo Peleg, Serach and Terah. Omina Yehoah movie tardy 205 years. It's again or had the average lifespan right after saying no one's Nipano more average lifespan only about 341 years. And I heard from the time of Abraham to the time of David, Abraham Bible study 179 years, Isaac D 180 years, Jacob Moses D 120 years, and David 70 years. It's very interesting saying from the time of Adam, before saying no one's series, until say right after saying no one's series, Nipa, if you do Nipa, Edi, and Son of Moon, so by over 600 years. And from Noah's time, to Abraham's time, so by about over 200 years. Now, directly from the time of Adam, before saying no one's series, AC, until Abraham's time, Nipan Fuso had to by over 800 years. And now compared to Yang Crash time, things say a little bit worse, right? Also, the average lifespan of Nipa during the time of Adam, before saying no one's really 945 years. Now, any room, how longer you level till and send you which means it's what by over 850 years, which is remarkable. So numbers we crowd if we want to crowd if we between CBA and SSM, but we numbers are in from the Bible in C and Ocresem. Nipa lifespan and that's in fear Nipa G and Sana Yuna is what significantly. Now say you see in more Bible we heard Psalm 90 verse 10 David Kase Nipa in fee Yibinya 70 years. Say Yankopon Adam CBA Yawa Modia when ya Ibia 80 years. Like 80 years no cry, a lot of it's a obre any amani kwa any na yeah na wefiri yase anase wo na European Union current life expectancy I will European Union 81 years, right? Which I think said, compared to Ghana life expectancy of about 70 years is what I would guess. Into her 81 years, many at that time, the limit meaning before say no one's doing this, limit meaning 945 years. Again, that was the average. Let's say 10% crying, right? 10% of how long an any is in Nigeria at that time, in June about 8%. We divide each one by 945, just about 8% of how long an Nipa is in Nigeria. That's how long we live now. So you must have if you this sequence of events question people say I think you really see it. What is the reason in here Nipa your lifespan is swatches so significantly? And run any in drew over 950 years. After 90 years a struggle say we drew 90 years. Now you can answer this question initially you ever heard the lives of two people. Nipa you be a bravo. Now you feel some lessons from it. And something that's a question. The first person I ever heard a king. Since you king and papa Adam. Na king the Bible no anka the number of years of the answer na but in her share say king would be 730 years answer na now what you have 730 years so even though say in young time no it seems like a lot of a long time answer na no or compared to the siblings siblings kind of in the context of set as the phone again, normal average was about 945 years. If it came crowd, would be about 200 years less than normal so. Now, her king, seen a Bible mice, Yakon Casson Baba for a instead of say, they are boy, Ebaba, lamb, Ebaba, when you decided all the fruits in Baba. In Tennessee, one buffer and a cry, or boy, but when seeing Yakupon Kaye. And I seen say, we are partially obedient. Let's just say what disobey. Just say you kind when you can't na you be or self-reliance or try to be a opinion or ye. Now saya homaso and na uni the need so the yakupon I am man and said yakupon catcher no. Na he didn't have any gratitude. And because of that it's not the opinion and or ye. Na even though saying you're evil, it tries on the back as I say, even on Susana drink, no see yakupon a catcher mono. When see Emma and Okrama no Emma able, right? Now because of that, any achievement, any rebellion king anything king when I say I think say even though again Bible name king as for the number of years so her king cried there, right? Say well level 200 years shorter than the descendants and as an safe one, we are sure some so many because they're not more rebellious, no more sweating, no more sweating. And our is one nowadays, no, right? After Noah's flood, no one's here, Noah, and then any more year, no, Yakupon, Egeo. You see, we are saying, Noah simple, right? Noah simple, and Noah so if we set because Ibo, King Nikono. Into King of simple, Nipa Ukraine, Honoma, or survive way, or money, because no Muslim wedding. Again, no money, no or more any so the Yakupon Yamomo, no more Ewa Homaso. And no more king and a Sipunina, Yakupon EU or free honor. Now, the other person I ever compared to, see, during the time of before Noah's flood, during the time of Adam, no, any pain each but king and a Sipon, no more winter because no more sweating. Correct the other side is so in the lineage, and I say a step, a Sipon, let Enoch Ekaho. Na Enoch, see Bible move from Hebrews 11 verse 5 and say Enoch na you be na GD na because of GD na be opese opinzi Yakopon no when Yakopon ever found free as so echo or sure. Now a very interesting because we read Genesis chapter 5 verses 21 to 24. Bible like catch and say Enoch when you do 65 no and no wo Methuselah, right? No wo Methuselah we and no 65. For the next 300 years after so Methuselah, or mama, na Enoch would be 365 years and Sana Yakupon Befanako, which is a very interesting. saying Yakupon chain money drew AD 365 years, and so over Panacosro. But yeah, in Enoch, Nabrabumwa, Ellen White, Emma Yahusen, now we need or a holy man, or you call your concron. And the Biana, the need to say over her Yakupon Sam, Yakupon Benya Inkitapudi. Now, not chin who free king, and then a simple because of Bonia no Moyeno. But still, let Enoch try to obey minister, and also between Bekanya Kupon Samacha, no between as a song wondering. Now, Enoch now was spending a lot of time so or bonfire or your reflection. Let it be a person who Yankupon in the whale. In Yakupon per se, oh yeah, let it be again and I dream was swallow. No. Now, Yakupon cry each year, no, according to Ellen White, during the time I used to be about the second coming, no, Enoch in your vision of kind of the speaker, if you ask will say, you put your wedding, you be able to presumptuous, you're fashion or young qualifying. You need so be more when you saw the Yakupon Yamay and the Yakupon Akachan. You need so the Yakupon Akachan, yeah. Na Yakupon Moja crowd do my no and fire home. See, Nipa, your states no. As bad as it was during kind of king, the like king in a separate way, the same thing that you see towards the end of the world. Now, in a question, and that be a no busana home, say, what shall I do to honor thee, my Lord? Say, give me a little bit my year, make Yankopon Jean and you know. If you weigh a question, and that Enoch, busana who did because the no busana was her question, we know, and no bois, Emma, or Nina, in kitchen with you, it's me every page. Emma, Yankopon to be the final, of course, or striking them. Na Enoch, you beat me, straight.
On the opposition of Auntie Ellen, or meet yourself.
Medase. Enoch, you beat me, straight, be a free Nabrabumo. Chair say, now again, no, you be an opera Yankopon, or pursue Yankopon as no per se, be a pleasing Yankopon, no Shinakopon, 18 Yam. Now again, interesting saying Yankopon man train till 365 years, as some of the call is true. I think so, even so, 365 years, and quite a lesson, my and say, and the year you were about 364 days and 365 days in a year. Sure said, every single day of the 364, 365 days in a year, no, it was a spend this time, see, you can Yakupon ye. But then Yakupon, I am my own, you be in Yaso, and be a betching a brain Yakupon. I think I know a great lesson from kind of even if you be a son of questions. It did be to miss Yakupon by, so you bet me in a call or striking them. Now, Enoch so because in spiritual health, and you have some repaying, and also Buama in physical health, and so and also repaying. And my Yakupon to be the final course. Now, again, to be simple free, 2 Corinthians 6, verse 16. No, a country and say, Nipadia, Yakupon, sorry, dying. See, Nipadia, Yakupon, sorry, dying, was saying careful. You might the cost Nipadia, Yakupon, excellent. It's sending in of CA, so you heard holiness, see a bear cron, and the Yakupon say was here, it beats my sanity mache again, Munyam. My sounds as well, so boy, in particular, physical health, your level. Now, again, going back to the question, as to say, Argentina before Noah's time, the average number of years and any pedino, since 945 years. But Noah, after Noah's flood, affected by about 300 years, and a young time, when you know, 80 years, 90 years, in each as I given the seed. In the Genesis 1, verses 29 to 30, a catcher and say, Yakopon, a catcher Adam and Eve, that on the every herb and every tree whose fruit yields seed, say, or the fruits, and the hahama, and a momo say, any Adriana, and momo, and eating the one Yakopon bomb, the beast of the earth and the birds of the air. Yakopon momo say, hahama, and also would be for Adriana. Na no one's is see afterwards if you say sign or Genesis 9 verses 3 Yakopon can say every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. Before Noah's flood, then Yakopon the plan say umbedi ahahama any fruits. Me sure that na king na sepon no munsi Yakopon senti. No mudi don't pebia. Me sure that no cracker who be no moment and check the first step in a step one. But after Noah's flood, no, you must sign a coupon card say after you meet me a dinner. Now, even though your coupon card say you can meet me a dinner, I'm crying, your coupon some restrictions, any regulations. And when I'm crying, you can meet me a and it's me more Leviticus 11, as we all know. Now, you heard Leviticus 3, verse 17 cry, your coupon Emma covenants with the Israelites. Say, any point say, would be started, and after Umudi Moja. Right? It's interesting, say, even though saying your coupon or yeah, a little bit lenient on the type of food that need to be made, you know. I'll catch up in the meeting and no, and across some guidelines. I was saying, Nipa Epolo, so Mufula, and Bebo. I know one of the key components is say, oh, any question you produce, sorry, and I say, Moja. And again, you heard a few things I Ellen White kind of counsels on diet and food, and Ellen White say, God gave our first parents the food he deemed that the race should eat. It was contrary to his plan to have the life of any creature taken. Kyerɛsɛ Nyankopɔn ne nhyehyɛeɛ mu deɛ na ɛnyɛ Nyankopɔn plan sɛ ɛwɔ sɛ aboa bia o, right? But because of bɔne nti na saa change no ɛbae. Na Ellen White saa ka sɛ, and he allowed that long-lived race to eat animal food to shorten their sinful lives. Soon after the flood, the race began to rapidly decrease in size and length of years. Nti Nyankopɔn ma ho kwan sɛ yen nananom at that time Adam no munyini channel Nyankopɔn ma ho kwan say after Noah's year no say nipa bit marry na say the baby say ye fie so because of money na say na nipa esitie no yes size no I think say compare your crowd to be Adam so bit man imagine what you say no you're much taller much bigger than maybe say nipa if he here now right because you imagine say at that time nipa is in 950 years that kind of Nipa concrete, you know, completely different from what we are today, right? Even by the number of years you need, you know, you need only 8% of what they did. So we can only imagine how different we are to what they were at that time. In fact, because of Bonen and Yakupoma, who can say, Yabiti Marinam, Nasan, and Namona at sea in Fiso. Now, even though Yakupoma, who can say Yakupon still. Or Nyankopɔn or yeah, papa or her your best interest into a mind guidelines see this one say you need so be what catcher and a bit my boy ama in fear you war currently you know you bit me 11 years actually gain monyam am yet my you media Nyankopɔn ahyehyɛ man say was ye actually gain monyam na again you heard when na the ye kan say before Noah's flood now not diets primarily plant based right. After Noah's flood, and an animal diet, no, Nyankopɔn Emma Hokwain, Emma no better home, and no better home na their life, so actually even more, right? Into her, that's the Oko or Dr. Honam. The main premise, when you're my Kanina, no, the happen, most of it's in part due to kind of diets, right? Because it has such a significant impact. Oh, yeah, pomodin. Nti say you come in terms of cardiovascular disease and I say area affects your common you did play a significant role. Nti a few disease processes it may affect your common near Sarah Panya Gigi esi kaho Emma Yakomano and as a comayari in Tim Dawson and William. Akomayari and as a cardiovascular disease one of the leading causes of death. Most of it is due to cardiovascular disease. In 2022, so far Nipa 5, one out of Nipa 5 that was in part due to sa akomayari no. Na akomayari cancer akomayari they bad in the chair, right? In akomayari chair say infina ema akomanu mujano. Your friend of coronary arteries. That's how ECC a part of it. Stroke a part of cardiovascular disease. When your heart failure is a part of cardiovascular disease. And a peripheral artery disease, meaning say you want man in Fina, a dimuja corn, you honeymoon, you want to take a Caribbean and area. And in front of peripheral artery disease. The so combined in a coronary artery disease, stroke, heart failure, and peripheral artery disease, and any making up cardiovascular disease. A predominant, and I say a very common. I saw Emily Pebble is the akomayari na diba the plan contributed to sending in akomayari. One of the key risk factors high blood pressure and that's a hypertension. It's a hypertension diba the way you see first of all, you see defining, and I say it's hypertension, and I say high blood pressure more. Hey, you say the check your blood pressure now, right? Here were two numbers. Number back also, number back form. The also on your friend is systolic blood pressure. Systolic blood pressure, they're trying to say how much pressure, and I say how much force. Now, what commando EU so maybe me muja equal insulin. So the insulin and edi muja no equal the rest of the body, right? And then as top number, the systolic blood pressure no, it's sure. How much force, and what's commando is squeezy. And a bottom number no, your friend diastolic pressure. And all reflected says commando is squeezy with every heartbeat. No, commando airborne. A kwan bɛn so na ɛtumi relaxe anaasɛ ɛtumi gyina home, right? ɛno na ɛyɛ bottom number na yɛfrɛ no diastolic pressure no. Nti sɛ bi a o blood pressure no ɛwɔ soro ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɛwɔ sɛ akoma no ɛyɛ ne ho na working extra hard to pump mogya no into the insane no sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ bɛkɔ nipadua nim. Na ewie nso na sɛ o bottom number no diastolic pressure no nso wɔ soro a ɛkyerɛ sɛ akoma no ɛrelaxe anaasɛ ɛgyina home ntumi gyina home yie. Ebi wɔ ha na because sɛ akoma no ayɛ stiff. Ntimi gyina home yie, and what's me ma akoma no get in trouble over time. So blood pressure no was right. It affects saa ntimi na emia mogya no gum no, right? And akoma no mu so blood pressure no was right. And ma akoma no so work extra hard. If you have high blood pressure, that's basically what that means. Now, if high blood pressure, a quite person is diagnosed you, and I say you can see will be hypertension and that's a high blood pressure. At least in America, you could be already 18 years or older. Should your recommendation is CBR also or undergo at least CBR one-time screening of the blood pressure, see a better kind of blood pressure. I think it's slightly different with the European kind of a health association. But and in terms of defining, and I say because we will hypertension and high blood pressure, no. Based on kind of the American Heart Association guidelines, so no, definition it says blood pressure may more than 130/80, and it says hypertension. Again, there's a slight difference with the European kind of association in terms of defining. Europe, for I think the way I'm defining hypertension strictly in AA. So with top number, no, again, it's systolic pressure. How much was that? What's he using this squeeze? No, more than 140/80, 140/90, hypertension according to the European guidelines. And I think to say more than 130/80, the European guidelines, no, that's a elevated blood pressure. Regardless of blood pressure, it was and over 130/80. It shows say akumana was working hard. As it's name mujano a continue. Now, what take our need in Yamujan society and my insulin so it needs suffer over time. Now, our blood pressure, the blood pressure on the that top number, no systolic blood pressure, no. You can say 150, right? So for every 20 millimeter increase, instead of say it be a 130, I say more than 130/80 hypertension. Say a 150/80 or risk so when you OKYERE no a double. Right, and of course, had diastolic pressure, and I said number nine will form no. You can say it was say less than 80. So for every 10 millimeter increase, no, say that diastolic pressure, no, you can say 90 or risk of being cardiovascular disease, no, a double, right? And she say 100 or diastolic pressure, 100 or risk of cardiovascular disease, no, and no cholesterol. In see who here for blood pressure, no, it's really well controlled. Could be a bit more preventive from getting OKYERE, no. Now, point being so me a year without you take a drill, right? Important say you take a drill for high blood pressure, but you will wait and so on. You need to make sure your blood pressure without a drill first, right? One of it is say you will lose weight or more you overweight and that's obese, no. So we lose 1 kilogram. A drop of blood pressure no, by 1 millimeter of mercury, right? It's going to say weight no was turned out to mix well. What's weight in the song between a drop of blood pressure no, by up to 5 millimeters of mercury. And again, in terms of diets, you will be different in DASH diets. Basically, DASH diets no be a pattern say also a rich in whole grains, fruits and vegetables. Again, similar to the Yakopon catch Adam and Eve before say Yakopon Maho Kayamani Pedi animals no. So what's me with the blood pressure no drop on by up to 11 millimeters of mercury without any medications, right? and in Chile, so what you on Chile so and so blood pressure number formed by up to 4 millimeters of mercury. And all your exercise and so and also bit more and the blood pressure number formed by up to 5 to 8 millimeters of mercury. Into help combine sun your way right? So we lose weight to her way exercise no. Or combining which might bring your blood pressure down by up to 20 millimeters of mercury, say, if you've been diagnosed with hypertension. It is our lifestyle intervention in terms of ATG, DE, making sure say fruits and vegetables, any papa no, limits no, and no corn by itself, no bit your blood pressure, so hypertension, a bit made the number form. So only hypertension, and blood pressure, so a bit number form, but from Kakrebi, right? Here, weight loss, diet, exercises, no. It's only maybe 2 to 3 millimeters of mercury decrease if you don't have any diagnosis of blood pressure. Into overall, no, stress a welcome no, so what's in yes, especially say you're diagnosed with high blood pressure. The other risk factor, and I say other things, which means cause of diabetes, right? A feature area. Now, a CKR typically is screening for individuals already between 35 to 70 years, we're overweight, or we're obese, and also more other kind of health risk factor, and more risk of kind of developing cardiovascular disease and cholesterol. Right now, based on again the American Diabetes Association or the definition, see because we was CKR, acquire a possible say a blood test, right? In the blood test, we a friend of hemoglobin A1C. Hemoglobin A1C, they're trying to say a feature over the past 3 months, right? It's an average of your blood sugar, a feature for the past 3 months. It is a feature level, say more than 6.5% in your friend diabetes, right? And I said the other ones, so you bet my diagnosis, you say, you bet my another blood test, your blood sugar. Maybe what fasting when you're going to be for about 8 hours. 8 hours now, you check your blood sugar now more than 126, and it's say or diabetes. These are the ways I me so is diagnose diabetes. Now diabetes no so quite so now you treat is a feature area now. Again, you will no be how my bit me use treated diabetes and you're here. But I think that the even more important again your lifestyle. Right, acquire so it's a live your life. If you can for high blood pressure, no, it's the same thing for diabetes. Say, would it be or your exercise, which will lose weight? That lifestyle intervention and one bit my drop A1C by 1 to 2%. The trying to say, see, if it will be A1C or call hospital, there's any A1C a 7%. So when it did and China would be or so, let's say fruits, whole grain, vegetables, no, or incorporating all your exercise. That A1C of 7%, without taking any medication, it makes my drop to 5%. So first time we see now so right? Into your lifestyle, maybe your Bible account, it plays a significant role in our health. Now, in remove so I agree with the Bible so account. Now, in addition to lifestyle intervention, you soon grow for diabetes. In your to send metformin, I know so to bring it down A1C, about 1 to 2%. And insulin, so to me bring this A1C down by up to 1.5 to 3.5%. It's really here. But I think again, more importantly, say you're probably and no crap play a bigger role in say preventing from kind of developing area na you will not be brain so on my side from metformin insulin you need to use to say be diabetes as a very difficult to control and last kind of risk factor you make us about dyslipidemia and I say high cholesterol, right? In the high cholesterol again guidelines may a little bit different America compared to Europe, but America will be already 20 years old over it's not unreasonable to do a one-time screening of a blood test. Moja test I screen her cholesterol. Now cholesterol, there are many different types of cholesterol, but the main ones are but we friend HDL cholesterol, and your friend a good cholesterol. A good cholesterol because cholesterol any papa will moja and only causes any free moja in the bowel liver. no liver no I get rid of those bad cholesterol say wo no nti sana HDL that's a good cholesterol yeah and coffee bad ones no ever liver no tell be a liver no bit get rid of it and LDL a bad cholesterol because and only bad cholesterol no come with say be a bit na ko na cause problems and see the goal with cholesterol is say good cholesterol na say HDL no e be cholesterol not bad cholesterol na say LDL no e be form and triglycerides also reflect that kind of fat how much fat and we put now you will calculate to be it me use to a boy a guy the same EBA will be cholesterol and was sure CBA also proponent care drew a dry usually a tie use for cholesterol a statins this after the statin as a lipitor and no body my cholesterol no a buffer in fact I calculate no it's me one as I calculate yeah, within that calculator to help guide in recommending treatments for high cholesterol no ebi yɛ sɛ any blood pressure exercise or smoking and a kind of diabetes one part of diabetes and you play a significant role say ebinom cholesterol no it's managing a cholesterol now again in terms of say you're treating cholesterol no, it comes back to what we said for both high blood pressure and diabetes no say weight what's your weight here again exercise what's your exercise now we did we did yeah and then you know to me my cholesterol levels no ever form even before say you don't know journal so what you have found your way you know so yeah it's me and see looking at all of these risk factors affect you probably in areas right in the fact and pain in age na adrenaline right? And adrenaline so I can want some now. See, right from the beginning, right? And I see, how much I need time for so it's the action with adrenaline, any adrenaline kind of young careful no. Nipa lifespan switching after from over 900 years to now about 70 and 80 years now. And let's just say it did right? And the Hong Kong and the brain. Na saa nneɛma wei a Nyankopɔn de ama yɛn through the Bible ɛne kind of wiase no so nhwehwɛmu nso so agree with na based on kind of saa nneɛma wei nyinaa nso so deɛ wokɔ Dr. Hall ka no ɛne deɛ Nyankopɔn asɛm ka no correspond anaasɛ go together no ɛno kyerɛ sɛ ɛwɔ sɛ yɛma yɛni sɔ deɛ Nyankopɔn aka kyerɛn na sɛ yɛ grateful to that ɛno bɛboa yɛn atumi extend your life na yɛka sɛ yɛma yɛni asɔ anaasɛ yɛ show gratitude ɛno koraa kyerɛ sɛn right, and see, we study be some researchers say, yeah, your friend a systematic review and some meta-analysis. Basically, the attorney and say almost many studies in total about 64 studies. Now, basically, the more is saying, see, be a nipa grateful and as I said, the others I am more quite benson to me abua sani panel. Now, the main findings of who says when you saw the Obi ayama and that's why you're grateful. It may boy in treating anxiety and depression. Now, esa boy increasing positive feelings and emotions in the general population. Right? If say yama yenya so you're grateful no. A boy alleviate and I say a distress ever form. Depression and anxiety and so they also ever form. Nema overall positivity within the body and so a cholesterol. I can say if you are grateful and that's what when you saw no and crash the body. And yeah, just something you can, but I think say most of a mindset. If you are him and also when gym any can say and affect how grateful you are. Then you can no can. I was really grateful for say during time I want you and that's what you also be grateful. Say unu yenu ya ho ikite say you may call you or say grateful say maybe kids will cry will be a cry was it me show that gratitude now because it goes a long way in kind of reducing stress and I think it's stress across it's me anxiety depression it may affect to a across also because was pumping a little bit extra hard so we under stress right into showing gratitude plays a significant role in improving our overall health. Now again, if you remove say and corral more for extra more gratitude or more experiencing greater emotional intelligence or more also they also have improved social relationships. and now more school crowds as well, more performance so a cultural. And not just say again, Yama so and I say you show gratitude no. A idea you yapa. Yeah, quite a bit more show gratitude. You say, as some I catch you no. You bit and we show gratitude. Now, young horses so in case so again, say, you want him more, you want time, you good times more. Any can say, time be I was here grateful. Nadia, Yakopon Cano, it's me, yeah. I was say a show your actions. And also the way it's in your also eating so I was show your gratitude. Now, Bible also echoes about gratitude. You heard First Thessalonians 5 verse 16 to 18. I catch a thing, you can say the bonnie, if you're bonnica. Now, it was said to be her papa, right? It was said we should rejoice always, we should pray without season, and I be BMO. I was say, yeah, you then you right? Because that is God's will for us. And Colossians 3 verse 17, so catching and said, yeah, whatever we do, I was say, yeah, when you demo. Maybe asida ima nyankopon and senior Philippians 4 verse 6 is catching and again similar to the who was study now you heard saying and you can say you're anxious, right? You're anxious for bibia na bibia no say them bible near the asida ye ma ye here the ima nyankopon ebe ni na mai again going back to show say yeah may any so na bibia na nyankopon say na you focus on the kind of negative things say you will times are hard more, and that's the times are good more. Say you train your coupon, you're training your coupon. The hang in be coupon be providing my. Now you sign some mindset, and this is why it's how boy improve your health. Na preventing you maybe to say depression and anxiety, and your overall health and so and buying it will quite be so. If you're right, yeah, kasa for only in a crack run is fine, right? The crack run is kind from the beginning, no. Say before Noah's flood, no, average number of years, and then you could be 945 years. After Noah's flood, during the time of Noah, Nimano, it's about 300 years. After that, from 945 average, no, to about 70, 80 years now, right? Now, I know, even though say a swatch, no, nothing, any day, Kasafa Hono. We san ma we nyina we would healthy diets, right? And you're kasa woody no woody or ho so ye we exercise na say unim nyankopon we ninje so bu nyankopon a e fa ko si baby right? Because at the end of the day you know you see say Enoch we a level life e so nyankopon nyankopon ni na di baby e be say ye be ya shi nyankopon di enu nya. To me, what's a healthy life now? If you look kind of this dietary recommendations are Bible, any researchers, catching, that's you through your couple. And then I bet boy, I'm a year, yes, yeah, and that's a life I will, yes, no. It beats me every year, transcend your couple by beats me any across. Now, the plan in addition to say, you're right, the DD, your bravo year, no, AC, receive your couple year. Na ibitumi atwa bɛn right na kakra even though say if you miswate significantly na you level only 8% of what you used to live at that time no and the process will be a blessing, right? Imagine saying and then you're diagnosed with cancer and that's a heart failure na you also you do 400 years and woo. Can you imagine how rough that would be, right? Say amaniene or how I can do the number of years that you're living now, okay, if you say back then, can be torture. Even though if you know, it's what celebrate, and of course, society, sure, right? Na ni na mo na wasi ehwehwe Yakopon ene ne kronkron ye na sinisi kan na te say Enoch your spiritual life in your receive bi hu Yakopon yi na di bia you be saying how can we honor God and his will every day and no be boy am spiritual life say kwan first nim Yakopon no bit na akosro and akosro so why be boy am nyaso the Yakopon ka in terms of your health it's me di so it's me this way be boy am yapomodi so it's me repay so and I'm that point to bit my it's my boy when you home it's me share for ban Yakopon say the be ya oba yi na bit me akosro him if you ma kakra we na me say you discuss within the context of theme na you work for this evening no Pacho, see if you any question or contributions, I'll be happy to take them. But Madam Asapendium, by me, Jean, and the team for the privilege, say, more on the question in the casa this evening. See, Madam Asapan.
Amen. 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 Michelle.
Yeah. Sure, question. I'll be to me. Feel free to unmute yourself to ask. But I think so, Mr. Champo, Epigenetic.
Thank you so much, Doc, for presentation of the Amaya. First of all, now we can be say and pimping and try say you lose weight. But we Africans are not. In fact, Maya say because you look skinny. Because then we are not. Yes, you are good. And your body. It so because we been lose weight, you know. You know, any ye dinner, so you can. Now, and no, lose weight now, walk on. Send a bit me a fast because you knew near ye dinner, ye say a baby, the body never yaks. It said also can say, ya really be on no more. See, you lose weight now, a baby boy. It honum send I will see the Amaya. Second, me exercise, they said, yeah, not dog. What about says a beer? Miss sleeping near lesser. The DMDD any exercise I may is it okay?
All right, fantastic. That's for the very good questions. In terms of weight loss, no, you did more, right? And play a significant role, right? And no come will be I was say you're especially as Ghana for in many people, a kind of quite high in carbohydrates, right? Carbohydrates and so it gets converted into kind of glucose. It's me also gets converted eventually to kind of fats within the body. Into losing weight, again, it comes back to Adriana Crowd, you heard Adriana, right? And actually, I recommend to say, at least, we keep it, Adriana, would, balanced in terms of, say, would they kind of fruit, vegetables, whole grains, instead of, say, be a white bread, right? And then the type of oil we use, oil, kind of too high in saturated fats, and that's a trans fats, right? Nina, go a long way. Now, okay, again, going back to Adriana, you'll be different calories, right? The amount of calories, which is the amount of energy Adriana converted to, right? And you're going to say, you heard 1 pounder, right? 1 pound equivalent to about 3,500 calories, right? And you're going to say, instead of say the BRBD, and I say kind of over the course of a day, or over the course of a week, actually. Well, calories are wood, if I say 2,500 calories a day, what's so by just 500 calories, right? We lose 1 pound in a week. Into in terms of carbohydrates, you might high in carbs, say a good so many more by moderation, right? What is kind of fufu, when kunina really high in carbs. So be and yeah, bonus will be, but within in moderation. We use why exercises and also there are different types of exercises. I think it's kind of the presentation or aerobic exercises, which one we can and also all bike. Maybe this is one of my resistance exercises, right? So one of my way push-ups in the sun, you know, play a significant role. Now, to a question, right? We are working together. So, what we did we exercise now, kind of with your sleep now. When you time and die, and so affect the body, right? Because and also the stress, now with stress and also to me my inflammation and the problems and so it's me every lipidiano. You see who here say the type of food I eat, carbohydrates will be reduced. Now whole grain is fruits and vegetables are Bible kind, you need me I incorporated that and maybe to my boy I'm yet to lose weight, now so certainly I'm so important in addition to exercise. What I say one man say and I say which one we can also yeah resistance exercises no you know to me boama yeah put me to me repair. I hope that answer our question.
Thank you so much, Doc. Mini preview honum na the now work to say and carbohydrate net dose or called doctor na say nipa no hwe no emma no some small bobby say obedidi adekasie mu no na it was say adekitwa we mu aduane de be de ya no say wapomudenti
right
because one na anya adwene eti odi bia no wasia kwati bia ka ho say anya no okay so it is that na it is that make can say yeah na you very very hard man say you lose to weight it is a more na yeah my na one more it me make sure say my son aye de bia study ne man na ma chikosu ato so it me make sure say me did this one it yes yeah it was a way I walk and say, won't you should terms be say, you know, so be a 5 6 yeah, you need some measurement. They say my bandic paralysis with the and a moment measurement. I'm going to talk my see and friendly dinner. You need sadly, you know, some more terms to be on between me away. I am my and say, ensure be a cup be no much tray and say, oh, to me, no say. Aduane no so cause vegetables ne ne ma mo kan ye nyina nim say ye na so ye nye ho
right
if you say me my nkwan si honom na my me fufu a doc say we are this ade we say
and that's it. But you can I end up fine. But and let's go back to the theme of your presentation. I say you have gratitude when you right? Say it's a mindset, right? Again, my gratitude is so a mindset. Our mindset, say kind of it has to start with you, right? Say you as Okwanheni as Christoni, the Yakopon Kano, any examples on Yakopon their mind, Every you may see me na will fit me that mindset says, you perceive me, your life are yellow good, yes, no, being meaningful, it's me up when you pan it must be Yakopon year, then Yakopon Kano, and never see a try. Even though saying easy, no, and never see a try, not yeah. Now, certainly, true say carbs, we do one more reduce, say, be able to because of me. But see, behind the tanker can be all the combination or say, be we need fruit for some any vegetables. If you are temo kakra, maybe instead of say bachikusi abe 5 no. With the fruits and the vegetables. Na ibi a pano or use pano your whole grain fiber richer. And we declare no bomb much mean MA in terms so. Okay, I'm also about kind of balancing on the variety of foods no than say we are focusing on one and trying to kind of get full off of just one meal, but being more so balanced with that approach. So also any other questions as well, I'd be happy to take it. And just I turn it over to Tino.
Doc, I think you're more time ahead of us. You know, minimum there's other 4 question here.
I tell me also.
Okay.
All right. And kami busa drinks beer. I kangen water. Over to me some kakrachen. Kangen water. As your friends saying. The pH value no was rana of that sort of drink. I don't know so name there kangen water.
When you're familiar with that
okay, alkaline water, no, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think say with those, in terms of the overall health benefits, no, I don't think say or any study, and I see or any I say one of that kind of thing for a bed boil compared to regular water. It's my recommendation is say regular water, yeah, more than sufficient. To kind of sustain you, so long as say we stay away from kind of soft drinks, no, say Coke and Sprite, no, because I think they're really high in sugar. Those type of drinks no, kind of very dangerous. With diabetes very quickly. If you stay away from them, that regular water and no should be sufficient for us.
Okay. That's it.
Oh, that's it.
Okay.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Ore nyame daase. Na emu sesia ne yeba so. Nti na asane mintimi nka bi no. Nkomo no so eba na megidi se ani gisem pa that na ye program o asori. Afi ne awie na baba so. Nti no nti we nka utim be minute bi ma ne a naja. Ehu kwa be fa so enso ye beka bi o aboa yen. That's
it. I think say kind of a summary of your kafa about no say you use kind of a trust and Bible no as an example. Wo ya pomodin se be ya pomodin bitimi ewie pay. Na ekwan bitimi afa so no ye kind of nyoma yakopon a churn through the life nipa no bi elivu ye yakopon first of all Adam no. If you do no mudi at that time no, you can say okay nipa be 5 and 6 be or more no more honum set in a safe one no mutimi you be almost 950 years. After no one's year no, your life no so tiba be 200 years. During the time of Abraham so even further. And our hey nimri mokra when you 80, 90 years. Into her 18 and 90 years I did nowadays now compared to 950 years and Adam wo AD on a step for 18 and next say you much change pa. A question you say when you say I didn't see science about I heard the life of King. King during that time no na if you do a no no less than million man on your more means no na Noah sepo na Noah so free set lineage because King you able King the only so free yakopon komu because no almost wending na yesakre Enoch life say Enoch no be no so yakopon na say yenya yema so yakopon aka chen no the reason why your life no what one of the main reasons aduane before say Noah's na ahahama any fruits na yakopon kasi yindi but after Noah's flood no yakopon ka ema ho kwasi bitimi arenam na even though omai ho kwasi bitimi arenam no kra omai some guidelines things more Leviticus 11 no yes after Leviticus 3 ka chen say you can see this right if you oko hospital so primary doctrine where you catch yourself sorry you're so careful Bible Leviticus 3 verse 19 I believe actually say you can say omudi sardi and say moja. Now based on that no you discuss some cardiovascular diseases right. Now the main thing that you hold cardiovascular disease in terms of CBR or hypertension and also high blood pressure or diabetes and also high cholesterol we did send a Bible come from the very beginning now and the it play a significant role one who did bit more yasanyo sa yari what we and also bit more I'm waiting akoma yare ama ewu earlier than the yakopon ahye time yakopon ahye ama say ibia wo so itimi hwe didi ni itimi stro yakopon se die Enoch na no bit ma bo ama ye pomeden itimi repair na djumadi yakopon ahye bitimi see kind of this is a summary of the kasa about but the main kind of health aspects diabetes high cholesterol and hypertension nana ye kasa efa ho kakra
okay doctor oya die pa na me so daase pa say what can I no call fa say ye hwe adidie yi a ewu se ye nua na edie nyina enye enso so no ye mebi o ye ma ye ni da ho o sa na ma no ho a etimi bo ye ho ba fi ya bebrebre mu ama ya pomudin so timi ko nanim e ka se me wo fa onyini pa ansa no o ekuafo frusun kwa na odua ame wo fa yi me ma me mo ne abusua na aka ne bebre o munya stroke ansa no mu eso no onyini na 110 oyanya stroke ohuna de no den za se na didi wo hwe ni yie enuaba yi oba na watana de hu no wodi no mo so mo che wo nam no mo chebe so hu enti eno kwepa se ewu se enu asai ye nuane ya yedi nso ne bi wo ha se fa drink se no be gidi se moya pomodene nti o se atwe hu fru ne enu nsuo mimi se na nsen maye madwe se esi kire mi ni oje sugar die ame ya no so mu sa boa me papa first bi a me dana me sorry a am ho ya me ya me stop sa na me nyina no me di asikyire de me di kwadu me ya sa no ho se ene ma na me hu me ni padue mu na ema me yemre no ni nyina afiri ho me drink pa say be dey se be ko shop na beto first na me topa me tom malt mo ne ade ene me ya na ma fa bi na se onum so ti hu se woni ji wo ho pa because eye wonum de awon ko yem su kra so ahusie ba ho but ni nyina so so se na enye na emoaye so ho enti se mansuo no mo hia ye ne a esa wo kese sadie nam no ne sa ne ma no akwantu ma se no no nyina ye nam no but awasa wudi a wo hweye se kakra bi na abefa abema fish adoso na wo a wo de vegetables aka ho ba sa na etimi buwa yen because akwantu mu inu ani nyina akoye nam ene drink ebi aso moye sa nti no ye ne sa mi gidi se bebo nti doctor we ye ebi yakopon da se pa ensema wo de amaye ne akasa no se hwe edidi yi a eni da ho no ba maye nya asetena pa se ezi fo de yakopon de adumu ya adumu ye pa so no asa enu me ye de ese kola pa se ye ye kura na se ye a ne atukola ne ye che eni ano ne ye no o sa ne ma so no ejiri se emoaye nti we na wo ka na ye tu ye no agu so na ye de kura obewu ye we na anu ma wungu ewo no obi abewu ne mum no du me bi abaye na ho na ma be ye no
Right.
eno so kura ye asama asam kese nti doctor Eliame das pa amen.
That's a part. Amen. Ciao.
Doc, but more question.
Okay.
The question is because you know, you who say you just here near be a twin and the same tray. Nay, a beer, pneumonia, you didn't come up. The same young one is internet, ne phone is animal into no, any pie isolating no. Obi okra no ayire ni kunu emma omutifie no bi ate no phone so impact be na enya wo nipa so ema nipa enya sad gratitude attitude say me yinya me aye na se me de nyamia because first no ne young no eni time je sa akodi agrosa na oba hu say wo ato otumi nipa di nkomo ese ni nyina no eko so eni say yani so bibi any isolation any depression young people you know they say woman depression you be queen home ye saying a bit me aye yet me a day ye ma any asafuma they say phone ama ye nyina obi aye isolating hono impact be na e nya we so emi ntimi nya nkopaa
Oh, that's it. Question was Papa Nebusa question.
Amen.
Sure. Yeah, that's a whole question. But yeah, a very good question. Say any reaction with social media, right? You probably be spending much time on my phone, so okay, different reels, any different everything that keep them entertained. Not actual social interactions with each other, no. And so above no. No certainly plays a significant role, right? Especially one cry, and no, it play a role in terms of depression and anxiety, right? People wanna or post BB and also post a picture or expect it be a number of likes and also be a number of views. Nti or if you're na down for the post here or never baby or no the post here kakredi near the depression. Na and also Emma kind of in terms of suicide, this animal contributed to all of that. It is how social interaction and no here say you be making time. And I think a part of it too is being intentional. So, but yeah, it be easier so more regulations to your child. I think say in Australia recently, or more banning social media for those under 15. And I think say France is also considering doing something similar. As parents, you have to be intentional for your children. But as adults, maybe a war or maybe a the out of phone, so you're to phone. So I was so you careful, so you're intentional. Say, we dedicated time. And much must spend the time maybe outside if you certainly kind of emphasize time I won't see here, watch a time a little bit hard to be able to put out with people. Wolf, be intentional so with my creative activity be able to now elevating mood. Because our social interaction and a boy may me in right only a mouth work as directly, any testimony to me in your free behind and I say advice, and no crowd brought me a show would you be moving and what me appreciating your man, echo so. Nti saa social interaction deɛ ɛho hia paa nti with social media and phone side I think sɛ wɔsɛ yɛ more deliberate na yɛyɛ kind of intentional sɛ yɛbɛlimit yɛ time I spend on that compared to nneɛma foforɔ any interaction and even yɛnya mesom no yɛbɛyɛ more intentional sɛ yɛbɛspend much more time there so I think sɛ bi anka yɛn nyinaa yɛmfa no sɛ bi anka yɛyɛ experiment na bi a yɛka sɛ screen time. Right? Yeah, make sure even the probably is an app I want on say it better record screen time every day. Now can how many hours I spend every day on your phone. It's a thing if you want to know if you why best care I'm gonna say Susani Makaka. Was you have stress, any depression is money at the bar or pomegin so it's me in your pay. And I said mammy Tiwasi canon. If you want to certainly true say will be a bill, but it be a time and Yakup Shama see be a time when I'll be one. Why be a new Jew honor. Na dwumadi a Nyankopɔn pɛ sɛ pɛ bi anka wonyini dwuru na nka ɔde woyɛ ɛde ɛboa ɛtwe afoforɔ ɛba ne n'ahenni mu no na ebia na wantimi anyɛ ne saa na akyerɛ nyame deɛ animuonyam fi saa nneɛma wei nyinaa ho hia paa. I hope I answer our question. No?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, good, that's it.
Hello, Doctor. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm from New York. Maybe I'm not going to so Mammy Tiwadi no come and I have to idea of Mokamona wouldn't even overcome to be out the overcome. We better be answered. I can't have to idea of Mokana to actually, and so maybe my about Paula so until Yoko Ghana. Maybe Banamaka said, buy new battery and I make a house and can't have to know. Mamma wouldn't. Lega in America and Brown wood, Manano. Open we should display my idea of Mokan be at the overcome for one and Debonnet. And young intentions of the idea. The name of the other three and you can know be a question. I could pass and be about as over the Mamma, Papa, some of besides I'm so also Papa. Yeah, that was the other. Now, by which say Indonesia, I mean, call a be a trauma, I don't know. Almost 6 of night and Yahu Mo, Okoyam Bekunzi, I'm with Chokun. Most of a Muslim my country, or more some like say young Negmo and 6 of Negma. Hana Compass on me, we visit America, but and they went to me and said, Munimo, Nekoso. And see, the attendant said, Papa, Nipana no more, one so una infinity.
Right.
The over here now, oh dear, didn't look on the be also. I made it. What's up, 7 for command? You go for life, so I'm sending because if I bet about 400. But tell me too soon, and I do. And I do, I will be out done. Now we have not enough of you. And Brad met minimum bush for a deal. Come on, really, by my bow, Hanadi, and then conform to Nokasa. That's how I'm a animal. Mean that time I saw me buying tartan, I saw me entirety. Now, be will let that time, tell on your ship, No, I never bring. No, I've been out, that's all much idea, a sabre. But in here, so because time I also say, and I know I need Juma. So now some kind of person can't. Social media, I can't want them. With that kind of some part. I wouldn't more Juma, Ubekazona will only cry, be a Niman. Now, would Japan. What about you know? Or send text messages now that they might for 2,500 every day. One massacre, Yentimin, because we knew Nipan, but till be a sacra. As social media, Japan, Okoha, almost a computer, I don't know what idea. Almost only isolated is our common worry. Now, a canipa Mukom Hopa, almost one of the countries of Mukom. Nipa last year or two, Nipa 23,000, and I'm moving. Because almost be isolated, but only in the phones, not another. And here say, a quamai when. Now, I papa can you grow, not the near Cassani, you didn't come on in. I bought my yarsa. Now, the ASU, and then the moment fans are near social media, you know. And see, so I never want to cry. No more, young shabby, Brenna, I see you so not family time. You find out, but we are Sunday, be by now, video be member. I incremophobia now, barn, no, the other now, Colanico, India for now, Colanico, the new telephone, Obama, more than anybody. this all the phone up to her. Collaba put a phone me and some money didn't go on some money doing it. The first chance and I say be any friends on it. No more we ask in the abano. Yampa phone into baby. Sabaya. Am I detached here home free busan phone because see any didn't come on any personal the other no. A boy be brave, might make any more. Afei ɛnam deɛ na deɛ ade no mɛma personal yi bi nipa bi a na ɛnɔm yɛ adwuma wɔ baabi kɔ secondary school no 8 years ɔsɛ baabi no na wɔn ɛkɔ na ɛkɔ so amesi na deɛ ade nipa brabra nya asɛm ketewa kɔyɛ mesi na nipa na wɔn di anim no mpanimfoɔ no wɔn nyɛ sika na wɔn akɔtɔ prako half wɔn atwitwa na wɔn awe na deɛ ade saa nipa no nya na wɔn bɛyɛ 6 wɔn nyinaa wu aka baako a ɔkaa no ne nti aka no no sɛ ɔkɔ asɔre bi deeper life na kyerɛ mi ni mo bi kɔ daadaa na ne kɔ pentecost asɔre. And I saw a guy was meant to mention it. Now, or no, a champion. Or that crow, or Praco now, or more Renaissance now, or no, be not, or no, I didn't see him, or some person said, Praco, yes, a bourbon and then a crampa, who chank a cadua, or the good Praco. So, no more who you know, if you are new Praco business. Say it's about 70 something years, or me Praco that, or me, just a number and any who be. And now, for I can't on more real standard, I don't know, Praco, and I never know. Nti mo ya hwɛ ade mu ye na boy say kan ya kan na kofo benyini kofo bebre Pentecost for no kra mo kra no mo tie na de adana na mo akwa na send videos a mo kyerɛ sɛ aduane a ye de ne hwɛ ne ye nti hwɛ ya branch ba ko a sɛ o kan na mesem Joy Austin or whatever or so for bi ɔno SD for ne ma osua bi na o de tete ne kofo no so ɛno nti mo ya hwɛ ne ye na ye ya nim dada ya fa nya adwuma na be boy bebre madam ase
It does.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, can see no. Bro, I don't say me can see Ghana culture. Who culture wine? Who won our people? Who bet me a boy can see why a crowd. It didn't fall this year, actually, but bet me a boy. Take to my minimum. Be so could not betray no face or call any mama. Uncle, hey. Yeah, can see me, doctor, a boy. Medasi.
Oh, that's a powerful contribution, and I think this is earlier on. Yeah, because everybody the problem there, because it lead to kind of obesity, right? Obesity is your weight according to height, right? And he said, because everybody kind of cholesterol, and more body, it gets excessive. And those be brown, okay, now opposite in we were in a day which I call heart and vitamin C. Now one heart attack. Right, people also so we do a friend atrial fibrillation. We're going to come on it able peri, and that's online. And wakuma cry with joints, excess weight, and go no CC, and that's so good to be. Maybe I know on yeah, right? If you cafe be the key again in terms of your kasa in terms of gratitude, a mindset. So what's your settle mind, so what's the term mind saying Yakupon, the Yakupon can be teen, and your be away as Yakupon Dian when you're not there. What they assume Yakupon the way you see acting, in your mind was saying, I will say reflected the Gidino into Cassibe Bino Embois, right? Yes, or the idea time again, Yakupon Shama, CB also when you drew. More be no when to be drew on because the Arabic and a bro in terms of say diabetes, no blood pressure, and no cholesterol. Affecting you might be into any heart failure, right? Or more obese, there are kind of two different types of heart failure. A command into me relaxing, and a command is stiff, right? Into no, you can see be brainina to me contributing my animal way in a TC. Into say you hear no, I don't see you pa. That you can see another call, if you are baby, the culture no. I think say the mindset should be say the way be actually anyone, right? The a beboa a multimetric for Benyakopon. And it was a question I was able to say, it would be I think I know to me a guiding principle to say that, and bit my boy, I may accommodate me every pay, I made me at me a boy for.
Thank you.
Pacho, your friend Vivian, made me a bisa.
Pacho, Mama, men, so watching to say, men come at and I said, dear, moon go by hands and a dear.
Oh, sure. Pacho, yeah, you can. Sorry, Auntie Vivian.
Okay, me, Mr. Quick, 2 questions. Okay. A high cholesterol, a drew number saying, and I say, we start to federal because we Ghanaians are not. Abribia, you be called black text or not. I think say most of a now, your cholesterol near bad. Now, it drew saying, and I was say, doctor, no. emu aduro and I say any the doctor na na check you obetimi ehunu say baby aduro na dey say of aduro. Second question. Second question, Mr. Ross, my name say my study said to me who say why is the men die more than women? The intra.
Yeah.
To be a my research be to me who na what me am I that's it.
Okay. Oh, and that's it. And you know, very good questions. I think the second question may be a little bit harder to answer as to why I'm in my in me as long as I'm. I mean, there are kind of some
No,
reasons.
more than a ma because we never can be yeah. More especially our for no me that's it.
Yeah, oh, that's it. Yeah, again, I don't think so. There is any kind of a clear-cut reason, but some of the potential reasons, and yeah, in member in as long in some instances, no. Again, there kind of where you kind of intimate generalizing it to baby. There are some countries member in more than in man, but for the most part, in the economy, here. Part of the reason I think say especially more area, don't say member tends to depend on their wives quite a bit. Right, my patients will be a mobile and member no no so much a draw one of my money. Well, because you're supposed to no, right? Into the year no boy organize BBM man or do one of my in the kind of so a man even back hospital be doctor, right? Into say ABM says have support no any one of man and no intimate boy. And in terms of CB a journey team, we careful no, right? The member be one of my said your PBN or Pesoye. Into ABM the ABA, the Rebecca, in terms of CBA, for fruits and answer vegetables and answer for BBC can hold or can't unti because your person, you know, and one not drinking so was way. Unti and also to make contributing. In some instances, and so you one of my fancy cancers. There are some cancers you one of my more prevalent in men versus in man. And also some conditions be one of my more prevalent in men versus in man, also to me contributing in member to me a one time. In terms of the science, so life expectancy, changes be back occur after menopause. After menopause, because estrogen, is not produced, the duration of life, so apart from kakra from, if there is some component of the physiology, saying you see bomb, so it play a little bit of a role, but the extent, is buano, so after in your menopause. Which I think the reasons may be brief, but these are a few ones that meeting me pointed out. And our second question, in terms of cholesterol, since yeah, blood test, right? Say, if I say we do one nunya, but unya heart attack, some bad cholesterol, and I say LDL, you go, you say a bit less than 100, right? It's again, since we did the exercise, next time, not to I don't quite bit me the cholesterol above form. But say no na still I was sure one of my bit me the drew amount letting me aboa amount the cholesterol level no above form. Into bad cholesterol when you're heart attack the goal should be less than 100. But this is one of my if you want a genetic can I say familial a running one boost you. If you go one of my checking in the bad cholesterol and they 170, 180, right? Then you are at very high risk for getting heart attack at a very young age. In those cases, when you start in neuronal, again, you can say you use statin. There are many other forms of medicines that you can use, but if you know one, I will say statin neuronal because a running will and I be to say triglyceride. Again, there are if you want a running will mujamo, you want a triglycerides and I say fat no. I was sure it was also starting a drone term. But most of it, if you're DD, right? So you can see cholesterol so and cholesterol. Into one so it's me affecting. And the last one I'm making is calculating my kind, right? It's be a friend or atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease calculator. And also it's me right. It's a combination of blood pressure or diabetes or smoking. And the same money in BMI, not based on that, or risk right? Or less than 7.5%, you recommend this lifestyle, so be heredity in the same we between 7.5% and 20%. Yeah, started you probably be moderate intensity statin. It is hard for statin now, but starting at a lower dose, about 20 milligrams. Now, if ASCVD calculate and we are more than 20%, and actually, so risking you really high until you put you on a very high intensity statin. There are many ways to me so if he addresses our cholesterol questionable sign. But again, if Papa me na ye, or he did the ultimate yes, I'm my way na, and it's me and one bit my boy, ama drubia, who yes, so Ubako drubia. So, baby, no homes so say run a war, Umuja man, so family mo, will be or family more, if you won't term because of heart disease and as it in those special cases, maybe I was so start here during time because on more risks there, cholesterol bit my body up quickly, you know, and was so
Thank you.
Question. No problem.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, Mrs. Vivian. Now, Professor Kasari.
Hello, Dr. Ampacho. Nyame shall be brave. Me addition what all their my now my question is as a hypertension patient, maybe diabetic patient, no. Say be a med didi maybe a ho side na maybe say be a med me breakfast away. Na ebia lunch no. Ebia medi ebia rice with beans be every near ebia me na ebia after 2-3 hours. And is it okay say me kwa vegetables be edi and say fruits be edi and at the time me didi no after no nanka medi ni nyina aka ho you okay say me ne sa na say me train say be 2-3 hours no make some fat fruits and say vegetables be edi.
Yeah, I think say a fine say be after some 2-3 hours now. Say fruits and vegetables now. When you quantity then that's appropriate. Because the amount of calories what's our fruits and vegetables no. Even can substitute now would could be before to say would could be more beans being and the amount of calories not cost you more. And also need to be converted into fat now. I think say initially did now I may maybe later on or to substitute say what could be a rich in carbohydrates now be substituted with fruits and vegetables. I think I know you're much better than CB and can be repeated the same way. Now would be the calories content in what it was through.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Doc, so be a my dear, me miss us not yet exercise.
Me
As the
patrol
youth
doctor
say-
me also. Oh, me patrol you.
Because Casaria, medical.
Me da se Nyankopon hira. Pastor, nyame hira wo pa, nyame hira. Me patrol, wo papa ni Mr. Ochiro. Ohio. Hey, me papa no, me so me papa no. Me papa de Mr. Ochiro nti. Me hu ni bia na me ni ade ewo Sabbath school no me patrol. Me asem bisa anasa me mu akakra ni de opanyin Derek kan no se emema wuja eman. Na ye program bi say ya na the doctor bi kama mete ani say o se ma no de nti a ye nyini che no ye bre one be ma wo ye adwuma bre de but adwuma kro na so oba ni ye bi oba fia o sa be gina ho ye fia de ye nyina na wo tie akunya mu kra remote anasa wo tablet so oba ni be ye ni nyina na wadidi wuwie a wahoro wonsa na nchense no gum na oba na saa hoho ti saa niema na oba na ye a odi akoni aba ni nyina no eboa ne ma na hoden enti eboa no ma onyini che na wonso eboa ma wo senke ti the best thing is say mo nyina mo akwa aba no a wabre no oba ne tije na hoye wonso koketen hobi ana wonso ye bibi na wodidi wi a eniema na wonsa guma nsuo ni gu wonsa chi a wo horo ni nyina no yese ya yaresa eboa wo no yesen se wote fa kono che se ose wanom zigarette packet bed wo ho but wodi akoni aba no a eboa ma wo honam dua ni nyina mu system na say honam dua ni nyina ya adwuma ti no so boa wo ma wo nya nkwatenten enti yese oba na ye na wonso ye bi eboa ma mu nyina motena seche na second o se ye krom Ghana no nso no owo mu se ema no okay wo mo bre de but the entire ema no timi che mema no wo ho nso ne se on se ye aduane a de ye kama ni nyina ye de ma mema no wo ne bia oba no bibi kakra bi ne bia da so ne nkwala no enti mo na wo nim se wo di de de no anase wo piama wo ni nyina ye yare nti no so ka ho bi te se yɛtete saa nneɛma no so na yɛn nyinaa yɛboa ɛbɛboa me yɛn nyinaa kyɛ mepa kyɛw te kakra me nso metee ya me se me de boa no me da ase.
Hello, doctor. Hello.
Amen. Amen.
Doctor, Mammy, you know, open the question about no water. Now, Mammy, I saw kind here, a beer and so, and near back on that. No crap, I want to say, I can't be, but, Mamma, I will be this ocean, what you won't see how they are not there. I can't tell them over beer on you, said Mr. Otter, me also a penny. Or it could see quite another idea, Mamma could see a baby and could be. Mamma, no, be a just to make sure no. I want a nini, no, a kuno. Duana work on that. Big crowd got for no budiana, Edionacuno. One factor. In the man I don't could track quite, don't could trust her. Memman could trust her now. Uba, a man trust her. A cock can a cock on a cock, and a crom cock, and a man a cock on your ma. America, Uncle 19 years, and I saw no more corner, who corner someone to play near over. A man cock, Memman cock, Memman cock, likely, be Brina Bebu, Naka Crabby. Aduma e den akasa apart from say be ekosi ba bi say be ekwati siku na mema na di kan ko no mako no aduma e den mema na ye aduma e den bia mema na ekroma na ye say market train play na de no cry no so you can tell the difference what to play mu and that train mu no ba na etwi no mema na etwi I can tell the difference this woni mu hwe woni bi dia be hu so mema na etwi ade we na oba na etwi mema dodo na ye nyuma e den aduma bi say we bia asam ka mo fie ne ma ho bo na de ade ni nyina ye fru ha mema na yi oba ni me ka mate asem yan panifo nti na me kan sa no me ma nyine nyina kunipa wudro na de ade ye adwuma na de ade nyina me ma na de nyina ye adwuma ni nyina akom beside that smoking na de ade na ma omo no cigarette doctor bi ande wa ye ho research bi ho e ma do na no cigarette but omo no me ma ensa e me ma na ma do na no bi but omo no me ma I Ghana so come obi cake house continue cake ope opa de we ma na ni ma abo me ma no ni nyina ku nipa ti mema no good do na asetre no beside that ma mutumi ne nkofo din komo fa mo yare ho na de mema nka mo se mo tere nkofo mema ngo yare kra na hye no ho kan tro bia na hye no sa no de wuko eno achi no ye call for can say medical check up na de a ma munya kwanya ko mema nko na se ni kwanya na ye nko ye je sa achi no ni ma we break ho that bia no ma be ho de so no ma ho ni ntia mema wulu apart from ma me ade o kan ya no ka ho bi ba dodo pa no eno na ma tere mo no ye kosi kwae ye kosi koputichi kro mema ne ko ye ko kontokwa mema ne ko ye ko bibia mema ne ko no mo kwa dodo na amafi ikom reclaim na de ikom no ma na de ikom kan no omo ibi keke but mema dodo ikom no general na de ikom no wa bi hu eno tina na tisa ne a break ho na chire be kan obi no ka se bia what I see for now madam ase
Mesremo ase ade no ya fa doctor ba mesremo ase ya na nko ye questions enti mo na ye no wa won nka ye ma questions no na ye na wa won se we ya ye kan de ye nyina no sebe e obi a ne na enti na mbisa ase bia na research bi wo ho yare bi e na doctor dikia chire mu amaye enti mesre se nka we se no ne yeah, one channel there, and come on me and
opening direct. Where so here,
and my Hunisa, so one said, Doctor, a year canoe, and I yeah, to see out.
This is also medical. This is also medical. But
doctor, sorry. Healthy family dear. Sandy Manana Mekano. Se mema na yesa eboa ma wunya
mate yo eti ana mama ya questions no bom no mra so wo no bi se question no ba ma doctor no boa ya na em se eboa bebre eti ya nke yenye ne sa doc na me bi se bi fa se ye exercise no wo kan bi se ye very very important my eti se wo ye doctor ya we moving around, is it exercise? And I say, yeah, nurse for a year, Jumana, yeah, up and down, and also you're counting for exercise. And I say, exercise and the pan, the best one in the other
hand. Medasi, which is kind of a very, very good question. Certainly, any form of mobility, right? But since you know, there are different types of exercises. Again, your resistance exercises to say EBL, well, your sit-ups, or your push-ups, or your signing one. And now we have all active exercise to say EBL, which bicycle, and that's all 10. And that's all to America, or jogging. right? And then passive exercise. No, you see, be a one take kind of slow walk. And I say Jumamu instead of some elevator no or stairs. Right? It's me in terms of your daily maybe or more daily walking step count. Right? It's me overall no to some extent. But the kind of prescription is be a bit exercise 3 to 4 days out of the week, at least 30 minutes of kind of active exercising, right? Passive one, or you have to do more, right? Because so you have 30 minutes of active. Let's say you are intentionally doing that. In the amount of caloric burn now, much higher than maybe a cell hospital now, now 4 stairs, no, good. But also you have more of that to meet active exercise. EBM Rebecca say about 30 minutes, about 4 days out of the week. No. See, yeah, that's how I would approach sa question. No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Boadu.
Yeah, Dr. Edasi, me pacho yidwa baby be kase ina me pesa o make it correction and I say or you sure the work na say e kwan ba kwa me ma paso yewu eja e man no eye ye no a mo me ma no yaduane na papa no na mode ma yen that contribute to the yen yewu no. One of the reason why a man would come say omode aduane papa no ma yen edie na na mentias yes me na man ti so betimi a explain ni ya because
I think say I think the point I know person make me what kasa say but the point I will person make ni say and you say be a omode aduane bone no the papa na ma. But in terms of be a quality no right be a and no the come you know right and then be a because of your husband when I will provide this kind of a buy and I'm come the side home be no so the boy and you see be the most cool right because and or the more out of respect they be on you the come no funny be a the canon no we did sabi sana or patcher that's no see canon that's no see canon right. Yeah, the main point is say sedentary, right? Say if you want member be true say when you hard working, if you no see a patch and if you are na see be on as active, on kuku much than ye na who did we what's nothing one for mother and boy, right? Because Nina so ways and cholesterol in the nebula there. Do honoma say when you're that active and Nina so important. I think that was the main point. And you see be a much that Emma rough food at the journey. Pasama.
Me that's pa Matthias yene mini aba fe na mate we na si contribution no Dr. Medasi mini aba Medasi
Oh yeah that's it
pamcho say ye bre no enti yeah asemo me pacho ye bese na me mama Vivian na mama Tiwa mpacho wa ni die mo de betwa to ama ye mepa mo chew me da mo ase
Doctor Edasi Yankopon show mepa chew masembusa ne say e ma ne bebre enam abrochire dwumadin ti ase ye kwa adwuma ba nipa no bebre ye didi wie ya wasme didi wie ya na manikum me ba ya metena ase antesta Ghana we didi wie a be move kakra wo be nyuma kakra bebre no na chese nke aduane no efiri ho kakra bata ha ne de say de ekono no e pa cho betimi nya sunsanso bi wo yeso an sunsanso abone bi wo yeso medas
oh that's it for the excellent question yeah and a crap between nya sunsanso bone wo yeso say udidi especially mo didi enwere pa no udidi no for mother and no it's a crap body no any time it mean digestive aduane ni year right and again one of the other side potential effects between acid reflux right and that's a GERD say we want more did you know for mother or yeah or quarter one mother na the bo efficient right because if you are not digesting means we are not say pian back na efficient throat and then ne lower palate and so yes so because they are getting to digest now move around and then it's me more master or cholesterol it's me cholesterol again since you can and so about ready for a carbohydrates make it converted into glucose right essentially then you know build up our liver and then will organs right? Oh, one of my DBI is also on check up to say, I think that one of the comments antibaco MIA. Oh, time I've been said hospital or year back council side of the corner. Now we should get another so so the EBN came one into my night ibikum. And she say a DD, we are what udidi late no. And also bomb waiting also a cost right? Because Nina a store, you're not burning it. Nina a store, they now add more. Udi and what that. Now you build it up. Amount waiting no cost, no say about you obese, when you obese so and so in soon so I can't watch them no, they didn't know so bro. It's a really important say maybe I'll be to me the late, be to me the dear. In the as late, maybe as early as possible, maybe at 5, 6 p.m. So come down, maybe a open snack beer, maybe a white fruit and vegetables. They said, I think so, will be kind, you know. Be a light, a bit to me, a board and so be heavy, late, and no emboa. Aside from so, yeah, acid reflux and also so, overall cardiovascular, if I wakuma no, emboa. And I'll wait to super sure, put to drink CCB and a young and tea, Nina emboa. Sɛ mame tiwa sɛ bia wɔ question a
doctor me da se me pa cho masem tia wa em sa na ebisa exercise nse bia wo ye adwuma no ka exercise no na me ni twetwe ntimante papa na me ye adwuma no pa na me bia me ye adwuma no me si a ba asese me de ko no me nya iti me nante ni mu wakakra na me se me je adwuma no na adwuma na akasa de nkanya den betenante no ele dooso timita se eno eye nante no eye mame sama
yeah nante no kapasa me chawano babi to be serious sorry
doctor eno ana me bisa no
oh okay yeah nante no yeah good I think say so nya opportunity to walk via eboa since kind of exercise or different types into 790 say bia and yet quick walking may even kind of kakra walking ni na boa in the long term. I think as much as I'll be to my no cry since will be a friend of peripheral artery disease since you start your presentation or say do one man na including na de moja ko on na imuno we are na FCC to do one na take a crabia na na ya na chi na ya your friend of communication into one cry more say arena your friend of peripheral artery disease no your first recommendation for treatment is on benante more 199 year yakra cause 190 no boama new intini itimi a form said by ya pain no bitimi free honom inti 90 year a boa both for legs and also your overall health no a boa and any extra excessive calories are only in so boa want to be burning emma nina point 90 in the I always recommend it.
Okay doctor me da se pa doctor uni aba ne me esun papa de oche
oh
ai o papa no it's uni aba ne me papa say oche ai
oh me da se
doc we de me pacho wani diemo obe conclude ama ye pacho na we hire nya me menye na pacho me da se
oh okay that's it pacho young vampire in a house it does it's all playing what can you her throughout the whole week my another privilege another sabbat between yeah that was it so say sorry in the yaka the junior the should be munyam or the bonnie between then you right it's my yeah hey say my near so what's my catching but boy need to me elevate life to say enoch your mindset no dbi be per se be should be munyam or the be na ye didi mo ye nanti mo the interactions with home you be a bit my shooting when I'm said by your pomodin so bit me repay. Then you my dear or the in I you see you bit me drew home. Near team shooting when the lifestyle which my example for others, let me be able to be a team for a bill. Sure said this Sabbath ensure my programs churches be able to sure will be a double tail will be a home. That was what my in so because I can now which we use
Pray anytime, pray when you're sad, pray when you're glad, pray when you're weak, pray when you're strong, just pray and pray. 'cause anytime is prayer time. Pray, pray, pray anytime. Pray when you're sad. Pray when you're glad. Pray when you're weak. Pray when you're strong. Just pray and pray, 'cause anytime is prayer time. Ooh. The offices in heaven, they're opened up for you every second.